Hello, hello, hello. Hooligan Soccer Podcast coming at you on this Tuesday afternoon. Hooligan, how are you? With
Jet, jet. No, I'm not jet lagged. I don't get jet lagged, but I'm tired because a lot of traveling over the weekend, and so
a lot of traveling.
it's good to be back. It's good to be back in the old homestead, in the old office, so to speak, and yeah. But raring to go on this. Lots to talk.
There is
Lots to
lots
talk
to
about. G.
lots to cover up. Yeah, exactly. And so you
Goodness
were at
me.
the is it the MLS Next tournament? Is that correct? In on DC, is that
MLS
correct?
Next Flex tournament.
Flex.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And so that was basically sort of all the top sort of teams and clubs around the country just going in and basically sort of getting at it. Is that it?
The top 64 teams from the 8 MLS Next regions all had to qualify through a sort of a so a regular set of games that's played in parallel with the league games, and stack rank everybody up and put them into 16 groups of four, and everybody gets to play 3 games, and the winner of that group gets invited to Nashville to the MLS Next Cup. And that is a playoff round where the 32 top teams from the MLS Next, in all these are all across all age groups, so that's U15, 16, 17, and 19, and they all get to go in and compete. And the winner of that in the final is played in Geodis Park in Nashville. So they get to
Beautiful.
play in
Okay.
an actual MLS stadium.
Wonderful.
So it's pretty cool. I mean, for the teams that make it in there, it's absolutely tip top. It's a real experience.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, good
Yeah,
to have you back. But normal programming has resumed as well, and back on the correct time zone as well.
it
So that's
has.
the main
Yes,
thing.
we're all back in the good old Pacific time zone.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, just before we get on, obviously in terms of the agenda, obviously we'll be looking at obviously all things Premier League that happened in this past weekend as it comes to a close with only 2 more games to go. So we're looking at the obviously sort of all the action as well. There's a lot of wobbles as well and interesting narratives going on there. Obviously, we'll touch back on the crazy weekend at the MLS as well. I mean, some of those scores were just mind blowing as well. So we'll talk about that. We're noticing a theme that's also sort of popping up this week, which is owners all of a sudden have decided to become passionate and have a voice as well from both sides. So we'll unpack that a little bit, and then also
You're on that theme. I'm not entirely convinced
it's a
it's the
first.
same thing, but you know what? Let's discuss.
We'll discuss it. We'll get to it, and then of course there is a strange out of sort of programming schedule Wednesday set of fixtures for the MLS as well. So we'll be looking into some of those games as well and
Yeah,
some of those
that's
picks
very true.
and seeing
Very
what's
true.
happened. But before we get on, I think we are nearly there. It is actually, did you know it is just over a month until the FIFA Club World Cup kicks off, the very first game on Florida,
I
and
believe,
obviously
yes, it is 31 days,
it is 31 days. So obviously,
which would
as
make it
we
a
are
month,
hype. That would make it a month if it's a long month, yes.
if it's a long month,
And
which we happen to be in because it's May. So
there we go.
we'll call it a
Yes,
month.
1 month day until the FIFA Club World Cup. And conveniently as well, we have decided to also launch a standalone dedicated podcast and video show for it called the FIFA Club World Cup, a global showdown, where we will be doing a daily fan cast, where the idea is we will be having fans who have been to the games. We've got a whole network, obviously, of partners and sort of games that we may be going to some as well. And they'll basically, the idea is basically sort of coming on in the morning, talking about games that they've gone to, seeing about all the stuff that's gone on the day before, and then looking into some of the other games. So subscribe, follow all the usual places that you get your content, so YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, all of those kind of places where it is. Watch out for us, and we'll be.
Group previews are coming soon.
They are. We've got a few
Busy
recordings
working on
coming
our
up.
group previews. Yeah,
Exactly. Yes. Yes. We probably may have to re-record Group C. I think the beer had been flowing a little bit too generously,
it was
and
so late at night when we recorded that, and we
we were
don't
slowing.
normally record at night. We recorded the day, and it was unusual for us to record that late in
Yeah.
the evening.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I went back and listened to it as well. I think we're probably going to have to do C again because Group C was
That's
I think we
okay.
were
That's
slurring.
okay.
And anyway, well, we will learn. Anyway, okay, let's get on to obviously this past week as well. So game week, I believe it was game week 37. Then would that be what it was? No, 36 on the Premier League as
36.
well. Yeah.
Correct.
Just looking at some of these games, quite a few red cards, obviously, sort of around the place as well. 3 red cards this past weekend. Any picks or games that you sort of want to jump out and check out? Obviously, I saw your beloved Palace, gave Spurs a stuffing for 2-0, which wasn't really a big surprise. But yeah, any picks for you, that games that jump out?
I'm just looking through my notes. You kind of shocked me. I think draw against Southampton. I mean, let's start with the
That wow.
number. Let's
Yeah,
start with the
what
number
happened
2,
there?
and I mean that in both senses. Woo! No, really, what happened there? This is Southampton has been as close to an automatic 3 points as there is, as there has been, I think, in the past 10 years of Premier League games. Southampton is just that porous and not that good. Yeah, they no, just they didn't do it, and it just, I think it goes to show what an off season they've had, that they can't even now, because in the old days when their backs were against the wall, City would show every time or almost every time. It was a true, and I think the most shocking thing is the fact that in most cases we weren't terribly shocked by this. It was still surprising, but it wasn't like, oh, you're like, okay, they dropped the ball. And, good side note here, Phil Foden got his first start since I think mid or early April, so it was over a month. So Foden hasn't gotten a start, and he did not look it. He didn't look like he wanted to be there. He didn't look like he had the passion. He didn't look like he had the fight. I mean, he messed that. That was not a good look. I mean, if you're looking at that and saying, okay, I want the gaffer to like put me on for the FA Cup final. I mean, he just got himself a bench spot. If he's lucky, he got himself a bench spot. Otherwise, he's going to be watching it from home.
Wow.
Which is 3 kids.
It's many kids as well. I know.
One of whom is still in the screaming stage.
Yeah, wow. Maybe that explains the poor form is the lack of the sleep deprivation as well. We've all been there. We know how that is, right? It's not fun.
Well,
it's not fun.
Not all of us have been there, but for those of us who have, we know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And also Haaland as well has also had a child as well. I know you've called that out a few times as well, right?
But he's injured. Like, he's legit injured. Like, he hurt his ankle. I think that, and I don't think, even though children are affectionately known as ankle biters in the United States, I don't think that's the reason why his ankle got hurt.
No, it definitely wasn't his children. That was
winning.
There we go. There we go. Okay, so I agree with you. That sort of like, I was surprised. That definitely was a shock one. It was just incredible. Do you think it was a case that Man City just couldn't score, or Southampton just all of a sudden figured out how to defend and just prevented them from putting the ball in?
Wish I could say I watched the game, but I didn't.
Wow.
So I don't know.
Great.
I'm not going to speculate on how that happened. I just know that it was, it just, listen, I could tell from the scoreline that it wasn't good.
Yeah.
Right. But exactly how not good was it? Couldn't help you there. Couldn't help.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can tell you now that it was all one-way traffic for Man City as well. Man City had 26 shots to Southampton's 2. However, their accuracy was not very good because there were only 4 goalkeeping saves. So they just, their shooting boots were off. They had 15 corners. 15. That is an average. I think the average in the Premier League is about 9 or 9.5. And so 15 corners is a large amount. And then obviously all the possession as well and all the attacking. It was all one-way traffic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes it even worse.
Yep.
That makes it even worse.
Yeah, and I'll make it even worse for you as well. I think you'll find that actually Erling Haaland did start, so he's not injured. He did start as well. So we're off to a great start on this first pick as well. So City, drop some points, and then because of that,
Okay, I mean, the cynic in me says they only care about the FA Cup final now. So I would say they're saving themselves for the FA Cup final, but you shouldn't even have to save yourself against Southampton. I mean, you could literally grab a couple of people out of the cafeteria, put some boots on them, and they could probably beat Southampton.
Yeah.
No, that's bad. That's bad.
Yeah. That is bad. So what that meant is that City actually dropped down into 4th, and obviously Newcastle with their results, obviously sort of like comfortable result over Chelsea, obviously got up into 3rd, and obviously City dropped points as well. So it leaves obviously again that race for those sort of like remaining Champions League spots quite open and interesting. I did watch the first sort of like 3 quarters of the Newcastle Chelsea game. Newcastle scored very early on. Nicholas Jackson had a stupid red card where he elbowed I can't remember. I think it was Tonali in the face. It was Bartman in the face. That's it. Yeah.
Sven Bartman.
stupid elbow. I know Tim Howard on Peacock was trying to sort of justify it and saying he was kind of jumping up to protect himself, but you could see it was frustration. He elbowed him. He straight up elbowed him. So he gets to miss the rest of the season and also the first game of next season. So that's probably going to do Chelsea a favor.
Sounds like somebody wanted to have an early vacation.
Well, it would be, but unfortunately, he has to come to the US because he's competing in the Club World Cup as well. So that's not going to happen, I don't think.
Maybe he just wanted to have some rest. I don't know.
maybe it's been a long shitty season, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And then looking around, obviously, I think just in terms of some of the other results as well, that sort of there was no real surprises. Brighton beat Wolves, which obviously
no real surprises, dude. What week were you watching?
Well, I was going to say no others, and then I was getting to it.
West Ham winning a game. That's surprising.
Well, against Manchester United is not surprising. That is
no. You'll notice I did not say over Manchester United. I expected Manchester United to lose, but I did not expect West Ham to win. I mean, they've been fairly poor.
They have been fairly poor.
Been way underperforming this year.
This is true. This is true.
Managed to meet a team that's underperforming worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's it, and it seems like the cream has certainly risen to the top in that sort of bottom sector of the Premier League, because now you've got Man U and Spurs in 16th and in 17th. This is, I mean, they can't, and thankfully for them, they cannot go any lower. But it would have been exciting if only those other teams had picked up a few more points and there was relegation waiting for them.
They can go lower. They could trade places. That's the only thing. It's just but it's a question of just how smelly are you going to be at the end of the year, right? Mm-hmm. But one of them is going to have a very shiny. One of them is going to have a very, very shiny trophy.
Yes,
and a ticket to the Champions League, and all of that stuff is just going to be reeking of duty.
It is,
reeking of poop.
Well, one of them is going to be Charlie Bucket in that final as well, and get a fucking golden ticket all the way to the Champions League. Hey, it is crazy. It is interesting how, again, I was listening to some of the other sort of like pundits and podcasts as well, and it's got to the stage now where we're talking about and thinking about is the money, and then it unlocks the other competition. It's not they won the trophy, they got to the final, congratulations, they beat everyone and they went all the way and did it. It's now they're going to unlock, they're going to get a load of money, get Champions League soccer next season, and then also potentially obviously sort of be able to make a sort of more compelling pitch to any sort of potential prospects that they'd like to sign in as well. And it just shows how there's been a fundamental shift in the game. If we're not going to win the trophy, we're going to get the money and we're going to unlock the next competition. It just goes to show the money in the game has certainly changed the direction and the narrative and the incentives. It may be, but it is what it is. It is.
I don't like this trend.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the trend. I don't, I get it. It's a business. One must sustain the business. But I don't appreciate the heart behind it because there's no heart there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wallet.
Yeah.
It's a pocketbook.
And
you should be able to have both.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the incentives have certainly been weighted. Again, it's not just money and competent trophy. Now it's certainly sort of a lot more money. And then, we get a bit of silverware as well that helps for it. So that's a big part of it. I think then the other, obviously, I mean, for a game, Leicester were able to actually sort of get a draw, which was quite a surprise for them, considering obviously they've been sort of really, really bad in sort of their performance overall as well. Just in terms of looking at sort of how that all sort of shaped out, I think the most interesting fact of that, obviously, and this is the theme that we're talking about, is owners sort of showing a little bit of passion. And obviously, I don't know if you did actually get a chance to sort of see it and understand the backstory about how this.
I actually saw that game.
Yeah,
I saw the game. That game I actually saw the tail end of. I also saw, I believe his name is Evangelos Marinakis, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yes.
And he showed some of that really vibrant Mediterranean temper. By storming the field. Yeah, I mean, it's unusual, to say the least. It's not de rigueur, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
to do that so publicly. It's normally done in the boardroom. It's normally done in the locker room. There's, and it gets
behind
leaked
closed
out
doors
in other ways.
Yeah.
But no, he went out and for me personally, I don't have that much of a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's, if he wants to air that laundry publicly, it's his club. He can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Nuno, to his credit, didn't bite. Just said, hey, kind of patted him on the shoulder and said, listen, guy, just chill.
We'll take it.
We'll get to you, right?
We'll talk to it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to it. He's not happy, and nor should he be. In some cases, they've spent a lot of money. They were so far ahead, and this is really a significant stumble that they had. They're not out of it yet, but the road is so much more difficult now, so much more challenging, and they probably need help. And you never want to go into the last two games needing someone else to do something. That's something. Exactly. That's a situation you never want.
Yeah, that's the idea, right? Hoping for results. Yeah. And what makes it even more interesting as well is just looking at it as well. I mean, Forest, first of all, they have West Ham in their next game, so you'd expect them to be able to sort of get over the line.
Obviously, every game's a must-win, but that's really
that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Win that. Yeah.
And then to tie it up, just to make things really spicy, they've got Chelsea on the final game of the season, so they could be fighting it out.
Watch this could be,
that could be. Space. They've got Chelsea, who and in their favor, and our friends over at the Chelsea Echo made this point as well, is that Chelsea have the worst home form of 2025. So that if there's any hope, they've got that in favor because they're playing in Forest home ground. I agree with you. We're talking about sort of like how it's about the money and sort of all the rest of it. There is passion, obviously, clearly passion there, which is fantastic.
I do no. Marinakis' passion is not from the love of the club. His passion's from all the money he sunk into the club.
That's it. Well, the money sunk into the club, and the money's already counted, thinking, I'm going to get the Champions League. I'm going to get the Champions League, and that's where it is. And as I say, you can imagine those meetings throughout the season that Espirito de Santos has to have with his owner, right? Sort of in midweek, how's training going? How are the boys doing? We're doing really well. Just stay in the top four as well. Just that's what we want, and that's what he's been dreaming of. And it could fall away at the end as well. It looks, and we've talked about this, and I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't, because it's been such a fairy tale sort of Cinderella story for them to be able to go all the way and get into the top four. It does. Yeah, it would be a shame. But I agree. I think those kind of things, passion is good. Obviously, I agree. Passion for the love of the club. No, did he grow up in this sort of, in the shadows of Nottingham Forest's stadium, or sort of grow up in that? No, he's the heir of a shipping magnate from Greece. So that's not there. But it's definitely, I'm sure he has developed a passion for it. But I agree. It's definitely sort of motivated by what could be in the next level that you can kick on for the love of his team and the money that could be made to put into his team. I don't think he's doing it to take money out of the club, to be perfectly honest. I don't think he's a glazer in that sense, but it's definitely sort of, what we could unlock and do if we got into the Champions League and get them back to their glory days, for sure.
Absolutely. And contrast that with the shots that you saw of Daniel Levy in the Tottenham stands during the Crystal Palace. And I'm going to be unrelenting here. Crystal Palace obliterated Tottenham. I mean, it really wasn't even a fight. Tottenham rested 8 of their starters.
Yeah.
Right? Because they've got
we know why.
They've got this Europa League final.
This golden ticket, we should call it the golden ticket final, really is. That's what it is, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's so many of those golden ticket finals that are coming up, but we should quantify what type of gold it is. This is European golden ticket. But I mean, listen, he's a corpse. I mean, he just sits there, he doesn't have any life. He doesn't show any emotion. He doesn't do anything like this. And it's sad, and then there, if you're following the rumors, there's a big back boardroom struggle going on at Crystal Palace right now. Our favorite guy, I can't remember this name off the top of my head, that's killing me, who owns Botafogo in the Club World Cup.
Yes.
Daniel
Textor, yeah.
He owns he wants to take over the majority ownership of the club, right? And end up purchasing 80%. But Steve Parrish, who only owns 10% of the club, grandfathered himself in as the club's chairman in perpetuity unless something else changes. So Steve Parrish can't be ousted no matter how little he owns.
Mm-hmm.
And so apparently there's a big struggle going on there. So we'll see what happens.
There's a big boardroom coup going on there as well.
And then of course, everything else with the owners, the Glazers are uniformly reviled, rightly so.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The Chelsea owners aren't covering themselves in glory.
Sir Jim is an absolute necromancer who's just trying desperately to like summon up the bones of the dead while killing off as much of the living as he can.
The latest one, did you see this latest one on Man U? Is they're not going to be having an end of season party. Instead, they're going to have a barbecue at the training ground.
Great.
Jesus.
Good.
Oh,
and then they'll fire all the people that they hired to cook the meat.
Oh my God. All right. Yeah.
Or they'll not pay them. They'll fire them midway and then they won't pay them.
I'm just looking around like which owners are actually sort of liked by their fans at the moment. Liverpool can't be too displeased with the Fenway Sports Group. Those guys have been obviously delivered and done well. They're great.
Think they're fine. And to be fair, I don't think Crystal Palace ownership is upset with the way Parrish has been running the club.
Mm-hmm.
No. This boardroom stuff, I bring it up because we were talking about ownership and ownership involvement and trending and various things like that. And this is something I think that will play out over the summer, and we'll wait to see what happens. But Palace are certainly in a great spot. They've made a final, for Christ's sake. That's more than they've done, since 2019 when they made the final the last time. And their performances have been, fantastically scintillating. Mm-hmm. So, there's that.
Yeah. Yeah. They and obviously getting into Europe as well, Palace, unless assuming Man City don't have an epic meltdown, which I doubt they will. But
you have to be a little concerned.
Well, that's it. To get into that sort of,
but I mean, look at the way the two teams have approached this final. Like Man City is limping in. Palace just came out, started their A team. They've been relying on that A team and really just chugging away. And God, they're really just clicking at all the right times in all the right ways. So I think it's going to be one hell of a final.
Yeah,
I'm really excited. Yeah,
it will be. There's going to be a lot at stake. That is for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. So speaking of owners, I think that kind of covers the Premier League. So if we can cross over to the other side of the pond, obviously onto the US side, I think the one thing that obviously sort of flashed up on my my news feed as well is you had David Beckham responding and commenting in the comment section of Instagram, which is absolutely crazy. Obviously after Minnesota beat Miami, obviously quite convincingly, and they called Miami the Pink Phony Club, and he's responded. And essentially, you can imagine there's an intern inside running this, and obviously running these social accounts, and all of a sudden he gets David Beckham responding to them, just basically based on after Minnesota absolutely smashing into Miami as well. And again, so it does. Again, that just feels like, I don't know if it's just all bubbling over the pressure or anything like that. But again, it just feels a little bit out of character for sort of, just to be sort of like coming up to the level of the gods to be responding to these comments on social media. I don't know what is that. It's a little bit different from obviously. Yeah.
Here's what I got to say. One, give that intern a raise. That's brilliant. That's a brilliant jibe. Two, apparently Instagram, this is a thing on Instagram. I don't follow the gram. So but a lot of people that I know who do said to me, this is a thing. The teams do this to each other all the time on Instagram. There's a lot of this sort of jibing back and forth and clever banter and whatnot. And for Beckham to sort of come in all like mega serious and try to, throw that thing down. I don't know. It's great news. And it's fantastic for your clicks.
Yeah.
But I think it makes Beckham look petty.
Well, it does. Exactly.
I think frankly, Beckham is suffering a little bit of butthurt because his Champions League watch along was pretty much panned by most folks.
it was a little bit out of touch, I have to say. It was out of touch. Yeah.
Most people were like, disconnect.
What am I watching?
Much?
Yeah, it was a little bit out of touch. He's got all of his buddies there.
I got some friends. We're drinking wine. There was nothing of value, truly.
Yeah. It was.
Added. Nobody loves Stanley Tucci more than I do, man. Dude, yeah, Stanley. Let's
Yeah.
Negroni sometime, all right? I got some really good twists on it that I would love to show you. But
Yeah.
I mean, no, it makes it again, it's fine. He's an owner. He's passionate. It's his club. He can do what he wants. And I'm totally okay. If he wants to get on the gram and do that, that's fine. I just think it makes him look a little petty. It's silly.
It does. Well, it does. Maybe it is indicative of there are bigger sort of things going on in his mind, and this is just a way for him to vent a little bit. And he was probably frustrated and lashed out a little bit. Right?
I agree with that. I think he's nervous about the upcoming Club World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he skated in through the back door. He's very worried that they're not going to play well, because if they don't make it out of the group stage, that's bad.
That's bad.
And they've had a season that statistically looks fine. They've got their win record, their draw record, all that stuff. But it's under that surface, under those wins and that gloss, it's not looking good. It's like a very, very pretty ship that pulls into harbor, but when you get up close, you notice the paint's peeling, the hole's leaking. There's a lot that's there that really requires some significant maintenance. And the captain's sitting up at the deck, looking out over the view, taking selfies, and doesn't see everything else that's going on down below.
Yeah, it's quite possibly something along those lines. I imagine also maybe it's got to maybe put a little bit more of color on it. I think, obviously, look, his team's just been smashed 4-1. That's not good. They got knocked out of obviously the CONCACAF Champions Cup as well, sort of in a very, very sort of, very overwhelmed. It wasn't even close. It was absolutely just rushed out of town.
And that's twice that they've been beaten by Canadians, because we know Minnesotans they're Canadians by affiliation.
Yeah, they're there as well.
Geographic affiliation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's really nice is we finally know once and for all who the top water bird in the MLS is, because the Loons absolutely beat the Herons.
It's not the Herons as well.
Yeah, that's Herons.
It. Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to look at it, you're exactly right. Objectively, Miami really do have a very bad run of form in terms of just obviously all of the matches that have gone on, right? Because again, they lost to Dallas. Was it Dallas, wasn't it? Was it Houston?
Lost to Dallas with a 3-goal lead.
Well, 3-1, I think it was, but and they came back for lost 4-3. But either way, they definitely So there is a bad run of form. I think there is rumblings that apparently that Messi is not happy with the Mascherano style of management, and that would make sense. He's obviously got this to deal with some of his designated players as well, who suspect have lost their legs as well. So, I can imagine he's probably a little frustrated, or maybe he was just hungover.
Let's also acknowledge that Minnesota is a good team. They are second in the West.
Yeah, they are.
They
exactly.
are no pushovers.
Yeah,
this is a solid unit. And so. Yeah, I would not. I mean, they should have never. I don't think they took it lightly, but people shouldn't be surprised that this type of thing happens.
No, I agree. No, it was definitely sort of a very big beating. Speaking of very big beatings, let's go over to the other conference and go on to the West Coast. Obviously, oh my God, I mean, rather. Galaxy, what, like we said, this is getting bad, but it just when you think, okay, they keep losing as well and they're still winless this season, but it can't get any worse surely, and then they go and play Red Bulls and my God, they lose 7-0. This is you got to pull the fire alarm here as well. Something's going on. Something has to change here surely.
Right. Yeah. So here's the truth as I see it. New York Red Bulls aren't that good, okay?
Yeah.
They're just not. They're not 7-0 winning teams.
Yeah.
But LA Galaxy are really that bad. They really are. And here's a team that I think missed winning the Supporters' Shield by 1 point, and really manhandled. I mean, they barreled their way through the MLS playoffs last year. It was, they scored 19 goals, I think, in 3 games or 4 games in their run.
They were devastating. Absolutely devastating, yes.
They rewarded their coach with carte blanche. They said, hey, Vaney, you're great. Here you go. Pick the team.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
Yeah.
That was
So
not a very wise decision. And
yeah,
I think there's some buyer's remorse in Carson right now.
yeah,
Some serious buyer's remorse in Carson. And they don't know what to do because
hmm
Vaney spent all their money.
yeah.
And yeah, this could be a multi-year rebuild now. I think if they had some GAM to play with, if they had sort of recognized what was going on, they might have been able to extricate themselves. But
hmm
unfortunately, this is more like if you've ever read the Isaac Asimov novel Foundation, this is the moment where the Imperial Galaxy is crumbling, and Hari Seldon comes in and says, "Hey, I can make the Dark Ages 9,000 years less if you just give me this." And they've missed it, and they're going fully into the 10,000 year Dark Age.
Wow.
That was for all the
Krudigan,
geeks and nerds out
I
there.
was going to say the fact that you were able to reference Isaac Asimov in this podcast as well.
Yeah,
I want to tip my
it.
hat to you as well. That is something. Isaac Asimov,
One of the greats of sci-fi. Go read it.
Digging deep as well. If you're back dropping Asimov,
ignore the Apple series, ladies and gentlemen. Read the books because the books are phenomenal. Apple
books are always better. Books
are
always better. But yeah, no, it really is interesting just to sort of again see how this goes on. I mean, obviously, if you just look at sort of, I'm just looking through their roster, right, and looking through their teams, and it does feel like there's quite a few older players as well. I know they've probably gone for a little bit of experience, but again, I know I'm going to sort of sound like I'm repeating myself over and over again, but I really hope both for Miami and for LA Galaxy that this is the wake up call, because they'll look at someone like Vancouver and say they've gone it a different way in the model, right? Instead of basically going and buying these fading stars and going buying these names and sort of playing the Hollywood role and sort of coming in and saying, look, the sort of, the Royces of this world, the Messis of the Suarez's, all these guys, come and finish your career here. It'll be a nice lifestyle as well, and come and have some fun. I think, again, the competitive level with the likes of Vancouver, who are just really have sort of shaken up the system with that young team, showing that it's sure you can bring some young players in, bring some stars in, and sort of sell some shirts and sort of develop some revenue that way. But it's not going to always lead to success on the pitch. And as you say, they're going to have to sort of figure out how to rebuild. They're going to have to wait till next season so they can open up some more money to get some more GAM allocation money GAM money, right? And even then, it's still not going to solve their problems because they've got to ship some players out. And again, shipping out old stars is not going to get you paid, right? They're not going to make any money from it as well. So I do wonder if they're looking at this and saying the model needs to change here and maybe stop going for this sort of fading stars and start developing our own. And then if you can start selling them on and using that and reinvesting it, that's when it becomes a more sustainable sort of operation almost, right?
Well, what's interesting is for those who follow it, we've already seen LA Galaxy's next generation. They have a team in the USL too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got knocked out early in the US Open Cup. So they're called Ventura Fusion, I believe.
Okay.
If you were at the MLS Next Flex, you could Fest, you could see, or Flex, excuse me, it always confuses me. You could see that the Galaxy had a team there, the U19 team, and a U16 team. And I did not see how they performed. I
was going to say, any of them good enough to make the first team now? I'm sure probably on the current form they would, but possibly, again, it's a big jump, right? It is a big jump, right? Yeah.
But I mean, at this point, I don't think it's a club that most people are going to consider seriously going to.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's just astounding, really, what has happened there as well. So yeah, so LA Galaxy really. I mean, the only thing saving grace for them is they won't get relegated. So that's something, right? So, but that would be.
I mean, this is what many people say is the problem with the MLS is that there is no punishment for coming in last. You get a spoon. You get a wooden spoon. There is a trophy.
Yeah,
and you do have to accept the trophy, but you are not obligated to display it.
So yes,
you don't have to display it, but you are given a trophy.
Yeah.
Some clubs actually do display it as a point of pride. They're like, hey, we earned it. Why not?
Okay. Wonderful. And then just looking around, obviously the other game, that I thought was also interesting as well. Vancouver, obviously, just marching on. I know they ground out a draw, obviously, against LAFC. So that was a kind of it was a sort of an okay game as well. I was just looking at the performance. It did sort of seem pretty even. Obviously, I think Vancouver had a little bit more possession, but in terms of sort of the shots and the efficiency, LAFC looked pretty good as well. So again, that was an okay result in a way. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
what the one thing that needs to be stated is there is a revolution happening in New England.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why. They are undefeated now in 6 games in a row. They have 5 wins and 1 draw in all comps.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the stat. They're currently sitting right lower mid-table in the East. They have 5 wins, 2 draws, and 4 losses. So listen to that story. They started the season with 4 losses and a draw. And since then have now gone 5 wins and a draw right out. Okay. That is an amazing turnaround.
Yeah, that really is.
And not against like crap teams.
Mm-hmm.
So something is happening there. I'd be curious to see, I'm excited to follow this to see if it continues, because that's quite a twist.
Yeah, that really is.
They have the best record
of the last 6 games.
They have the best record, tied with Seattle Sounders for the last 5 games in the MLS.
Yeah, 5 games. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it seems as though we're seeing this trend, isn't there, in the MLS, where there's kind of like these games, these 5-6 game blocks as well, where players particularly as well are coming in and sort of, having scoring things. Obviously, we saw Benteke obviously started the season very well, scoring a lot of goals as well. Obviously, your favorite striker is it Philadelphia as well? Ty Baribo as well had like a screaming 5 or 6 games and then went off the boil a little bit as well. Sure. So that was
streaks happen. It's sports. Streaks happen.
Exactly.
Right? But this time though, it's not spurred by one individual with New England. It's the team. The team's doing it, and that's what I find. And that's what I find. So compelling. And they have a game in hand, right? New England and Inter Miami both have a game in hand. Why do they have a game in hand? I don't know. But they have it.
Okay.
And so, I mean, you could see it in a weird situation. So, for example, if New England was to play Inter, right, and beat them, they would be close, right? They would suddenly like be almost right next to them in the standings. That's pretty surprising, considering how they started.
That is wonderful. Yeah. Okay, and then just wrapping up as we're coming up on time. How we've got obviously a sort of a rare midweek set of games, obviously in the MLS. I'm assuming they're doing that just to cater for the Club World Cup, because obviously they have to pause their season. I'm assuming that's pretty right.
I suspect you are correct that they've had to do and manufacture these sort of midweek things. They're calling it rivalry week, but it's not really a rivalry week.
But the rivalry week is in this coming weekend as well, where you can see where they've lined up all of the sort of.
That's not a real rivalry week when you look at the game. I think the game set up.
Would Derby week be a more appropriate term then as well, just considering they're playing all their local teams as well, right? Is that? You've got
San
New England
against San Jose's playing
New England. Yeah, you've got New England. Austin are playing Vancouver. But the thing is, like, who do Austin play then if you've got Dallas playing Houston? I mean, so who else do they play in Texas, right? So they have to probably mix it around, right?
And so I think, so one thing that you should know is that when they're talking about rivalries, they're talking about rivalries of clubs that came into the MLS at the same time.
Okay, really? Okay,
so,
interesting.
Yeah, so the 10 original MLS Next clubs are all playing each other. So you'll see, right? So you'll see San Jose playing New England. Those are both original, right? Those are both original clubs.
Those are the new ones, yeah.
You should see Houston playing
Dallas.
Is it Dallas playing? Houston playing Dallas, or are they playing
Houston playing Dallas? Houston are playing Dallas.
So that's it. I mean, they're not original clubs, but that's a regional rivalry.
Okay.
You've got DC United versus New York City. That's fine. Why they're not putting Red Bulls in there?
No. That's not true.
That's the wrong.
Yeah. You're looking at the wrong one.
List.
City are playing against Red Bull. So so there's a New York rivalry going as well.
Montreal, Toronto,
Miami, Orlando as well. So they're more derbies. They're more sort of like regional as well. LA Galaxy against LAFC as well. So you've got obviously sort of that. Portland against Seattle as well. So you've got that Pacific Northwest sort of matchup. Nashville, DC.
But then
That's not sort of, what is
Portland
that?
versus Seattle, that makes sense. San Diego versus
That makes
Sporting,
sense.
that's not a rivalry, but San Diego doesn't have one, so there you go.
Yeah. I mean, against Chicago against Charlotte, I mean, it's sort of East Coast, but there's still quite some way. Atlanta, Philadelphia, there's still quite a bit of distance. But yeah, I think the ones that they could pair up who are regionally close to each other, it's been able to do that. And I imagine they've probably done it as well because they have the midweek fixture as well, just with all the travel and everything like that, and say, okay, guys, this weekend, travel in the week, and then obviously sort of try and keep the travel to a minimum on the weekend, right?
Right, because there's and there is that as well. One thing to note, this midweek game that's going on, the secondary market right now and the market for the tickets, because a lot of these are also, they're evening games, and they're all going to kick off at 7:30 local time, as far as I know, or somewhere around that time. They've got some of these games are going like, they're down to like $12-15, right?
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Except,
of course,
San Jose,
Miami. Yeah,
the
Miami.
the cheapest seat in San Jose right now is $390.
The Messi factor for you there as well, right? We know this as well. I wonder if they put
$90.
I wonder if they put a Chicago style clause in their contract, which says when you buy this, we cannot guarantee which players are going to play.
That's in every. I believe that's in every ticket contract.
Yeah. Of course, but remember, it was Chicago in a couple of weeks ago. Remember, they came back and they gave everyone a free ticket for the next game as well instead of during a refund.
That was a choice. Yes.
Yeah, that was a choice. There we go. Wonderful. Well, Cooligan, I think once again we've bounced around the wonderful world of soccer and all the narratives and the antics going on as well. Obviously, from David Beckham to David Beckham and obviously the Nottingham Forest owner Evangelos Madikanis throwing their toys out of the crib, and then also as well, Marinakis, and then also as well bouncing around, and then obviously the demise of LA Galaxy as well, and the absolute biblical sort of
please,
nuclear
that's not
meltdown.
A story that's been happening all. I mean, that's just like a recurring theme.
It's a slow train crash that just keeps on happening over and over again. Groundhog Day almost, right? Yeah. Anyway,
it is. All
right, Cooligan. Well,
true. Good enough.
Wonderful. Cooligan, as always, until next time, we'll see you on Thursday.
Yep.
Take care.
Peace.